So you don't let a lot of people in here, you were saying earlier on. This is kind of like the
No.
super mega VIP exclusive turbo ultra ambassadorial bar.
Pretty much, this is kind of like my private bar, basically. So
Okay,
if I
cool,
like people to get to
exciting.
come in here,
Okay, all right, sweet. So we're in the good books.
really good
Let's see how
base.
long
Yeah.
that lasts.
So this is our warehouse bar. So it's basically hidden somewhere in a warehouse. I couldn't possibly tell you where. But all of our kind of invited guests or kind of special events that we have on, we get to come in here and try some of the amazing whiskies that we have in our portfolio.
Okay, fantastic. And we happen to have one in front of us. I can't help but notice. Where did that come from? So talk to me a little bit about this next expression.
Absolutely, if you have a smell and a taste if you like there. So Aberfeldy 16 for me, it's kind of a highlight of the range because it's different from what you usually expect from Aberfeldy. Aberfeldy, the honey, the citrus, it's very mellow. It's quite kind of wood forward, as opposed to winey characters. And with the 16, what we've done is we finished it for a few months in first fill Oloroso casks. So if you like your
Okay.
shared mature whiskies, you get a little bit more of that kind of dried fruit spice. For me, it comes across quite nutty as well. So it adds that extra complexity to the whiskey that we have. And I think it's a great example of what Stephanie and her team does with, not just this, with the whole range for Aberfeldy, Dewar's, or other malts as well. It's an exemplary kind of way of explaining balance. That's what we do very well with all of our whiskies. Nothing's kind of overriding everything else. There's that previous maturations there, the character of the distillery is there, but also that finishing period. Finishing, anyone can do it. Take whiskey, whack it in a cask. You're going to get character and pattern from that cask, but taking it out at the right time, that's where the skill really comes in.
Okay. Well, I mean, you mentioned Oloroso, and in case the corduroy wasn't a giveaway, I quite like sherry, so I'm quite excited to kind of see what's as well as just the extra bit of age on that. What was the idea behind leaving it at 16 years? Because obviously it's not the most. I mean, it's not unheard of to mature something to 16 years. There's some quite famous whiskies out there that do it as well. But what was it about the 16 age statement that kind of stood out?
So there's a few kind of reasons for that. I mean, we've always, well, I say always, since about 2007, 2008, we've had a 12 and a 21. So 16 is roughly in the middle. But as well as that, it's kind of the sweet spot for the distillery. So every distillery's new make, it's got different nuances. It picks up wood characters in a different way. Generally speaking, for Aberfeldy, whenever there's a special release, it's going to be somewhere between kind of 16 and 20 years, because that's where Stephanie feels it's kind of at its peak. So we have a lot of stuff around this kind of age because of that. And I think it's just a nice addition to the range in terms of, adding more wood character, but not as extreme as like the 21 they're going to try a little bit later on.
Okay, stay tuned for that.
I've
always wanted to say that.
Spoiler alert there.
This is my CV for breakfast television. Oh, wow. Sorry, I cut myself off there a little bit. That's... Ooh, okay. You do get quite slightly like creamy, nutty kind of an essence on top of kind of like what was there before with kind of like a fruity, honeyed kind of a presence. It is like you just dialed up the 12 and then went, do you know what? We've got a little extra with it as well.
Sherry will be nice on top of that, yeah. I think, that's what's great about it. It's sherried, but it's not overtly sherried. It's an obvious Aberfeldy whiskey. Not there's anything wrong with an absolute sherry bomb. I'm a big fan of sherry myself. But, when I enjoy a whiskey, I want it to taste of the distillery it's came from. I don't want a high ABV sherry. I think that's what's great about it.
Their own, but yeah, it's nice actually to see kind of like that signature is still shining through with the whiskey. There are some whiskies that obviously they suit having kind of like a very heavy secondary influence, but with this one, what makes it is the fact that you can kind of like detect from kind of birth to where it's been bottled, where that signature is coming from. And obviously we've learned a fair bit about kind of like what makes that kind of signature come through now. It's been an education through whiskey. This it's
the best kind of education.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, if they taught this in schools, that would be irresponsible, actually. But I mean,
I'd still be at school anyway.
I kind of wish I could have done this in university instead of wasting my time with Shakespeare. But Wow, that's fantastic. Would you recommend anything in terms of like serves with this, or is it just best as is? Because obviously there's certain people that would be like, you, how dare you, and
Yeah.
I have served like an Annock 24 and Coke in the past. It hurt a little bit to do it, but they insisted
I'm
they
sure it was
wanted it. So
delicious, but
it was the best whiskey and Coke they'd ever had, I'm sure. But yeah,
I think for us, just as a company, not even for Aberfeldy, our belief very much is, when it's in the bottle, it's ours. When it's in the glass, it's yours. If you've paid for that whiskey, you need to enjoy it, however that is. So no one should tell you how you should or shouldn't enjoy your whiskies. Obviously, as you go up through the age statements, like an Annock 24, for example, a little bit more pricey than some other whiskies if you're making a cocktail from it. But if you want to mix it, that's exactly how you should have it. So at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your whiskey. The most important thing is that you've enjoyed savouring that whiskey in whichever way it might be.
You do with it as you will, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to be enjoying this. You mentioned the new make as well. I suppose a distillery would be a good place that we could happen to stumble upon some new make somewhere.
I might have some.
Okay, cool.
I'll see what I can do.